Okay, so this is the third mentor video that we're supposed to do. This paper is on jail. So we watched a video about like what it's like to be in jail. A guy went through 30 days of just like being a prisoner just to see what it's like. So we kind of documented it. And he like learned some like good things about it and like things that weren't effective. And like one of the things that I really noticed was that like the people that were in there for drugs, that they had a really bad relapse rate. Like as soon as they got out, they would get back in because they were convicted again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I decided to do my paper on. So the title is Jail versus Rehab. So like the other one, we'll just go by paragraph, then I'll ask you questions.
Okay.
Okay, so my introduction says the United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. Out of the 2.3 million U.S. prisoners, half of them are serving sentences for drug offenses. This being said, 2 out of every 3 drug offenders return to jail because of a relapse. Rehabilitation should be the focus of correcting drug offenders rather than mandatory sentences and incarceration. Instead of locking up these men and women, they should be given treatment to overcome their addictions. America needs to identify drug addiction as a public health issue that requires medical intervention rather than punishment behind bars. Only then will the prison system be effective.
Huh.
So what do you think of the beginning of my introduction?
Well, I think that first sentence grabbed my attention. It does make me want to know more, but that...
Okay, and then my thesis is the last sentence of the paragraph. I'll reread that again. America needs to identify drug addiction as a public health issue that requires medical intervention rather than punishment behind bars. Only then will the prison system be effective.
Well, it seems to take a stance, and it seems to be something that could be argued.
Okay, so now this is our second paragraph, and it says, an increase in the criminalization of improper drug has been evident due to the mandatory sentences and lack of attention drug offenders require. The number of U.S. residents in prison has increased from 330,000 in 1972 to 2.3 million today. This increase of incarcerated offenders has also increased the harsh disciplinary allowance enforced upon drug offenders. A consistent punishment for drug offenders was set in place in 1986 when a law was made that required judges to automatically give drug offenders a sentence of 5 to 25 or to 20 years in prison depending on the severity of the crime. Before this law, 25% of drug offenders paid fines and were put on probation. Now, 95% of charged drug offenders end up behind bars. Brian Stevenson, writer for the Global Commission on Drug Policy, said, these policies have had limited impact on eliminating or reducing illegal drug use and may have resulted in adverse consequences for social and community health. Without proper attention to these inmates, the rate at which offenders are arrested will continue to rise. Out of every 100,000 people, most countries have around 100 incarcerated prisoners. I could reword that. That's kind of confusing. And I forgot that the 100,000 needs an extra 0. Okay. This number is comparable to, so out of 100,000 people in most countries, 100 are incarcerated. And ours is, this number is comparable to America's 500 incarcerated prisoners per 100,000 people. So that means we're like 5 times higher than most. Since these arrests have increased, the funds to incarcerate inmates have also decreased. The United States spends $68 billion a year to house prisoners.
Wow. Well, that first sentence of the second paragraph, I think the word drug should be changed to drugs.
Okay, so an increase in the criminalization of improper drugs have been evident, yeah.
Yeah, and then that quote.
Here, I'll read it. Read it. These policies have had limited impact on eliminating or reducing illegal drug use and may have resulted in adverse consequences for social and community health.
Well, it seems that would support the argument of how incarceration does not help the drug offenders' problems. And then that last sentence of the second body paragraph, it doesn't It does not align with the topic sentence, I don't think.
Okay. So, yeah. And we're supposed to end with our thinking, so I need to change that because I said the United States spends $68 billion a year to house prisoners. So then I should add another sentence after that to tie in with my first topic sentence.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Now onto the third body paragraph. It says, many people believe that addiction should be viewed as more as an issue of public health worthy of medical attention rather than a crime deserving punishment. Drug offenders make up the majority of the population of imprisoned inmates and are rising due to the lack of treatment attention to care for their needs. In 2011, at the World Drug Report launch, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated, drug-dependent people should be treated by medical experts and counselors. It is a disease, not a crime. Punishing drug offenders with time in jail does not prepare them to be more successful upon their release. However, if the drug offenders are receiving counseling and treatment, jail to them will no longer be a place of restraint, but a place of recovery. Some prisoners offer a year-long drug program that, if completed, takes months and sometimes years off the offender's sentences. However, because of the increased cost of incarceration, prisoners are less likely to get into the program and receive medical counseling or therapy. In 1991, 1 in 3 prison inmates were receiving treatment while incarcerated. Today, the rate is down to 1 in 7. The increasing costs of mass imprisonment have eliminated the funds that are effective in reducing reoffenders. Many of these offenders are drug users that did not receive the medical attention required to change their behaviors while they were in prison previously.
Yeah. Oh, that topic sentence of your third body paragraph, it seems to effectively support the original thesis, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because I mentioned that in my thesis.
Yeah, and then I think that was a good statement about how increased incarceration rates go hand in hand
With
improper treatment.
Okay. And then do my topic and closing sentences align well with each other?
Yeah, they seem to mirror each other.
Okay.
I didn't know if you're participated in drug rehab problems, you could reduce your sentence. That's a good incentive.
Yeah, that's what I learned in the video. I thought that was pretty neat too. Okay. So this is the conclusion sentence. Treating prisoners' drug problems rather than imprisoning them will not only positively affect their behaviors, but could potentially save the government millions. By reducing the sentences for nonviolent drug crime inmates that participate in programs would shave off an accumulated 22,000 years in the long run, which in turn means the government would save $224 million. Expanding the drug rehabilitation programs to ensure inmates can participate is crucial. These rehabilitation programs should be mandatory so that the maximum response is undisputable. Saki Nafu, writer for the Huffington Post, says this option also offers the benefit of providing more inmates with skills that could help them stay out of trouble after they are released. These scientifically established treatment protocols, which have been found effective and successful, should be vigorously pursued.
Wow. Okay. Well,
So, hold on one second. So, what we're supposed to do in the conclusion is to widen the view. So, instead of just focusing on jail or treatment, then she wants us to
broaden the scope?
yeah.
Because I think you did that by tying in how proper treatments can also reduce government spending.
Okay.
Well, I agree that rehab should be mandatory so that the maximum positive effects, they might be able to reach them.
Okay. And then, what do you think about my my closing sentence?
Well, the closing sentence seems to sum up the paper.